ABC 11 together, highlighting important events and important people in the community. And this morning we are very grateful to be joined for a community conversation by Raleigh's Police Chief Estella Patterson. Thank you so much for being here.
Absolutely, and thank you and to the entire ABC 11 team for having me and some members of my team on for these crucial conversations.
Yeah, I think it's very important, and we've got a lot to get to, so let's just jump right in. I know one of the big concerns right now in our community is youth violence. DA Lauren Freeman even saying that the recent surge in youth crime, she said, is, quote, unlike anything she's seen before. So this is clearly a big issue. Can you talk more about what you're seeing and how our PD is working to address it?
Yes, absolutely. And it's a concern of ours as well. I think since 2020, we have seen the increase in youth violence. And I think largely because our youth are idle. They don't have a lot to do. They're out in the community. They're breaking into cars. They're getting into cars. They're committing violence. This year here in Raleigh, we've had 20 homicides. Of those 20, which is, by the way, lower than what it was last year this time, and we're thankful for that. But what is disturbing to us is two of those homicides were victims. They were juvenile victims. In 9 cases, we have seen where a juvenile was involved in some way as a suspect or an accomplice, and total of 9. That is extremely disturbing to us. So we know as a community we have to find ways to engage our youth so they're not involved in criminal behavior. Here at the Raleigh Police Department, we're doing a number of things, really looking at these numbers, diving into it, and seeing what are the things that we should be doing to be able to prevent or touch our young people in a way that is substantive for them. I think one of the things, for us is looking at making sure that that our youth have something valuable to do.
Sure.
We have our public safety cadet program that many people do not know about, but we have been trying to recruit and have more of our youth involved in that. It teaches them a little bit about law enforcement. They kind of get to see what we do as police officers. We have our K-9 unit go out and do demos for them, and they meet on a monthly basis. And the reason I bring this up is because it is so valuable to make sure that they're engaged in something that is positive for them to keep them out of trouble.
And I know that the police department cannot do this alone. It requires a community effort. What can parents do to make sure that they are helping make sure kids are not getting involved in criminal activity?
Yes, so parents, I encourage parents, you have to know where your youth are, where your children are, what they're doing, who they're involved in, what kind of activities they're a part of. You really have to know every day of the week. I think about some of our youth crime that's occurring, at 1 and 2 o'clock in the morning. Why is your child out at that hour? As parents, you have to make sure that you know where they are. Also, to access to firearms. We've seen a lot of aggravated assaults involving our young people, our youth. They're getting access to these guns. We always, as a police department, are stressing to people that you have got to secure those firearms. You cannot leave them in a place where somebody can get to them. And for our youth, when they're out idle and they're walking around and they see a car, they may decide to break into that car. And if there's a firearm in there, that gives them that access and that ability to get to it.
I'm sure we could talk about youth violence all morning long because there's a lot of components to it. But let's move on. Let's talk about some concerns about crime in the downtown corridor along Fayetteville Street, Moore Square. What things are being done to kind of help address that, to keep this community very vibrant downtown?
Yes, and we want the vibrancy of our downtown. We want businesses to continue to come into the downtown. We don't want them to leave. We want them to be here. So we have worked collectively as a police department with our partners, namely the Downtown Raleigh Alliance. They have done a fantastic job of being able to identify some of our hotspots, problem areas, that kind of thing. And so we have partnered with them. They provide ambassadors that walk the streets of downtown. They also have social workers as well for a lot of our unhoused population. We have matched that, and we've gone even beyond that with our patrols. You'll see our officers walking along the Fayetteville Street corridor for high visibility. They're just getting out, talking with business partners, residents, people that they see in the community, which is really important to us. But another key thing that we are doing to address crime that we're seeing in the downtown is private security. The city of Raleigh has provided funds to help pay for that. I think that is beneficial. We have seen great strides as a result of that. When we look at our crime numbers this year in the downtown Raleigh area compared to last year, we're almost down 50% in just every category, which is absolutely amazing. But that goes towards that strong partnership that we have and the fact that we're being very vigilant and very aware of what's going on in this area.
Well, that's great news that we've seen that reduction in crime, and I know that crime reduction across the city is obviously a very important focus. So let's talk about that. What are some ways? I know we talked about Connect Raleigh being an important point there. Can you tell more about Connect Raleigh and how people can get involved?
Yes, absolutely. So Connect Raleigh is an opportunity for you as a resident, as a citizen, the public, to be able to share your video footage with us. So your camera footage from your security camera. But the key thing is to that, once you register your camera, we don't have access to all your data all the time. When a crime occurs or something happens, we reach out to you and say, is it okay for us to look at your footage so that we can solve this crime and get information about suspects? And once you give us the permission, then we're able to do it. But we encourage residents to register that camera so we have it on file, so when something happens, we can then reach out to you. We are excited with that program. It's a ecosystem that we're seeing with cameras, which is great. It's extra eyes and ears in the community that is so valuable. So we highly encourage, if you're listening right now and you have a camera system, please go to Connect Raleigh. You can Google it, sign up, register your camera so that we can have access to that footage if we need it.
And I know building strong community relationships is another crime reduction strategy. Can you talk more about efforts from RPD to do that?
Yes, we are always building relationships with our community. That is the hallmark of our organization. When you see our officers out and about, please take the opportunity to stop and talk with them. But how we build community is being in the community. So if there's community meetings, we want to be there. We want to sit at the table to talk about the issues that are important to that neighborhood and to that area. Also, too, we have different events that we host and we have throughout the year. Coming up on October 2nd is our Coffee with a Cop. If you have an opportunity, all throughout the day we're going to have different sessions and we will get that information to you. I believe we've shared it with you before, but we encourage the public just to come out, meet our officers, talk to them, get to know them. We also have a youth summit. Since we're talking about youth and youth violence, we want to connect with our youth ages 13 and up, basically, or 13 to 17. So we invite them to be a part of our youth summit, to come out a full day of just talking with people their age and connecting and interacting. We think it's going to be a wonderful event. We have done it in the past and it has been tremendous.
Perfect. And one last thing before I let you go. You know, we've talked a lot about some concerns and some of the things that we're seeing here in Raleigh. People who are watching this, what is one thing that they can do to help the Raleigh Police Department as we work to reduce crime across the city?
Absolutely. This is our city. This is the capital city. We are working to make it the safest city in the nation. The way we do it is, if you see something, you got to say something. We need the public's help to always amplify and to let us know what is going on, whether it's through our Crime Stoppers tip, whether it's you flagging an officer that you see and say, hey, I see something a little bit odd going on here. Just want to make you aware of it. That is extremely helpful. This is our community. We're all invested in it. We all have to take a part in reducing crime.
Thank you so much for your time today, Chief. We really appreciate you coming out and having this important conversation with us.
Absolutely, my pleasure.
All right, thank you again. We will be right back with more news and weather. Thanks for joining us.